compelling detective story, a cloak and dagger action, and a romantic drama, all these stories were taken from real life. The history of Kazakhstan is inseparable from the world history. Reflections on history, our version.
A 1,000-mile journey. It is a half-forgotten film and half-forgotten story. If we lose 3 rifles every time we make a stop, we'll arrive at Chalkar empty-handed. He walked across 3 continents during his famous travels around the world. Alibey Jangeldin was the first Kazakh cameraman, meteorologist, and Red Army commissar. This person's fame seemed strange since it was widespread and indistinct at the same time. However, it is better to say muffled than indistinct. The heroic deeds he performed, or made his people perform, to be exact, was as simple and legendary as Suvorov's crossing the Devil's Bridge. However, instead of mountain glaciers, he went through scorching deserts and steppes. We know about that event mainly from Alibey Jangeldin's recollections, and there isn't much information about it. He and his international detachment brought weapons, cartridges, and money to the Aktabe front. There are various opinions about Alibey Jangeldin, but first of all, we have to study Alibey Jangeldin as a statesman and public figure. Chapter 1, A Special Load. There is an extract from Jangeldin's speech saying, "It is March the 21st, 1918. Those who have gathered here have to cooperate on the improvement of your life based on the new principles of freedom and equality for everyone in the region. At the same time, I must remind you that we have to pay a very high price for these achievements." That price was not final. As soon as the Congress was held under the slogan "All power to the Soviets" was over, Dutov's army seized the city. In the Orenburg province, there are certain settlements which changed hands 6 times during the Civil War. Jangeldin wrote in his diary that he had simply been lucky. When Dutov's people were taking him for execution, a shell exploded in the square of Orenburg. The commissar managed to escape thanks to the commotion. Although they retook the city, they did not have enough soldiers to protect it. Thus, the Turgai Executive Committee sent a delegation to Moscow to get help. Lenin assigned Jangeldin to deliver a huge sum of money to Chalkar. Commissar Jangeldin was given 68 million rubles, weapons, ammunition, and medicine. Lenin offered to recruit an international detachment to deliver this important load. And is the rifle disturbing you? Not the rifle, but the horse is disturbing me. Then change places with it. Don't people ride horses in Poland? Why not? Others ride, but I don't. There were Magyars, Czech people, and others. Of course, the majority of them were former captives. In addition, a Serbian commune of 20 officers and Chinese peasants volunteered. The main part was supposed to join the detachment somewhere on the way. In early August 1918, the united units of the echelon with ammunition arrived in Astrakhan. The counter-revolutionary rebellion in Astrakhan immediately took decisive measures and helped the military commissar. We're planning to go further. Don't be late. Jangeldin. The war continued. Not only the Bolsheviks and Germany planned to conquer Turkestan, but also others had similar plans. The English developed certain plans concerning it too. The place where they were was cut off and they did not know what to do with the money. Jangudin went to Tsaritsin, or modern Volgograd, where Stalin was. The Council of War gathered. As for Stalin, I describe here my father's recollections about him, their meetings in Tsaritsin, and a few other meetings with Stalin. First, I was offered to stay and organize a cavalry brigade from the Bukayev Horde. However, when I said that there was a person who could organize the brigade in Moscow, they offered me to get through the front line to the enemy's rear. I handed over the 68 million rubles which I brought to the Revolutionary Military Council of the Southern Front, left Tsaritsin and went back to Astrakhan. Chapter 2. Difficulties in the Hunger Steppe. In the summer of 1918, red flags were raised over Astrakhan's fortress. Thanks to Jangudin's detachment, the Bolsheviks managed to retake the city from the White Army. The military convoy was given 2 schooners, and they continued the expedition a week later. The Turkestan front is suffocating without weapons. The front demands help. The only possible way to get there is going through the Mangyshlak steppe. Today it is still called the Mangistar region, and it had the same name before. Alibi Jangudin armed himself and went by 2 schooners to help the Aktabe front. He arrived in Mangistar and got off the schooner on the Buzachi Peninsula. Excuse me, what's this place called? It's Mangyshlak.
Это Mangyshlak.
On the way towards the Alexandrovsk fort, which is also known as Fort Shevchenko, the expedition flotilla encountered a warship. They managed to avoid a battle only thanks to cunning. The red schooners did not have weapons, and they improvised replicas of cannons. The White Army didn't dare to start a battle. Osman Kobiev, who was a Kazakh cadet and former Tsar's lieutenant colonel, turned out to be the chairman of Alexandrovsk Fort District Council and a member of the Socialist Revolutionary Party. Chernov was his deputy. We gave them an ultimatum. They had to recognize Soviet power, disband the garrison, and transfer the British spies to us. They promised us to recognize Soviet power. Our next task was unloading and then moving further by land. Problems started occurring. They couldn't get either horses or camels or forage. They invited local elders, and according to Jangudin's memoirs, first the elders didn't trust them, but then agreed to provide some means of transport for them. We were immediately invited to the table. We sat down and started drinking shubat. It's a white and foamy drink. They make it from camel milk, and it's like champagne.
Шубат. Ну как шампанское.
Kazakhs from Mangystar helped Alibi Jangudin deliver the ammunition and machine guns needed to fight against Dutov's army on the Aktabe front. An extract from Jangudin's assistant Vladimir Shpreitzer's diary. Riding 300 camels and 300 horses, we arrived in the Istyurt. The road was horrible. We were in the open steppe without water. The salt marshes were endless, and we rarely could find a well. In spite of the fights with the White Army bands, we continue going forward confidently. Water! The distance between wells was 100 kilometers. Sometimes they were filled with stones or the water in them was poisoned. We collected rainwater behind tombstones at ancient cemeteries. In addition, there was a notable phenomenon. Local residents knew about the places where it was possible to make fire without using dung or saksaul. You could do it in 2 to 3 centimeter wide cracks in the desert. We did it in the following way. We made a crack deeper, enclosed it with salted soil, and then we made fire and could boil food. Before leaving those places, we filled the cracks up with sand, wrote the only female member of the expedition. Her name was Yelena Jangudina. Chapter 3. According to genre laws. The Commissar did not leave any detailed records about the hardships they'd faced on the way and did not even mention being wounded. Writer Maurice Semashko included in his description of Jangudin's campaign a stray bullet, love, and a fight with death. Sasha, Sasha. His dry lips called her name, and again he felt her cold, sympathetic hand in his. I love you, Sasha. You are the first woman whom I tell these words. I haven't had anything real yet. This old man said you were a good wife. However, you need to be able to ride a horse. I love you. According to the book, Alibi Jangodin's frontline friend's name was Alexandra Romanovskaya. In real life, Yelena Drobyazgina was the wife of the Commissar Extraordinary. When the Soviets came to power and the Orenburg Congress was being prepared, he met Yelena in Moscow. They met in Moscow when he was getting ready for his Mangashlak campaign. It seems that the 18-year-old female Muscovite, who was the Tsar's army colonel's daughter, really participated in that campaign. Foreseeing all the problems we would face on the way there, I cut my braids completely. They used one of my braids to make a wig, so that I could look respectable sometimes. I went as Alikir's assistant and was wearing a fur cap with large ear flaps and a man's clothes. My luggage contained a dress, wig, and shoes, which were in my kit bag. There were 200 of them. The majority of them were foreigners, including Poles, Hungarians, and Germans. There was an unknown and merciless desert in front of them, and the outcomes of such adventures were not often successful. They stopped in a village. Alibi put aside his Mauser and took the Dombra instead. Thousands of people sat around him, and the members of the international detachment were not asleep. They sat listening to the music, which was as ancient as the steppe. At that moment, according to the writer's intention, the girl's heart trembled. Alibi Jangildin was a multi-talented person. He even sang in the Bolshoi Theatre during the Decades of Art and the USSR Peoples. He went on stage and sang a Kazakh folk song. However, it happened later. At that time, he had to complete the 1,000-mile journey, and every time he took a turn, he faced death. There were comrades and enemies. Enemies became comrades and vice versa. Everything mingled in the cauldron of the revolution. It's difficult to divide or join the white or red sides, to be exact. It's almost impossible. At the same time, tribute should be paid to people's bravery. According to the laws of the genre and epoch, the Red Army won the victory. However, the love story was tragic. It happened during a cold November night. They were standing near an elm tree, and the commissar threw his jacket over her shoulders. At this moment, a bullet hit her. Sasha, he called her quietly, catching her when she collapsed. She smiled and closed her calm grey eyes. Alibi knew that the bullet had been supposed to strike him. They'd shot at him in Kardaul, and then in the desert near Perovsk. In real life, she wasn't shot at all, but the campaign through Mangashlak Desert could have been the last for her. Yelena, who the character Sasha was based on, together with her horse, fell over a precipice. Local physicians cured her, and the expedition was delayed only for 4 days. Epilogue, a continued story. A radiogram for the Council of People's Commissars. Having completed the journey, which continued for 3 months, the transport arrived at Chalkar successfully. 3/4 of its valuables were given to the Orenburg front. Military aid arrived on time, exerted considerable influence on world history, and brought happiness to him. Finally, Alibi married Yelena. They had 3 sons. He gave the name Enver to his eldest son. Incidentally, Alibi Jangodin and his wife did not go that way only once. The expedition's participants provided literacy training to the population, helped establish orphanages, and opened courses for healthcare workers. They brought food, textiles, and medicine. In 1924, not a military but a humanitarian caravan went back to the Mangastar steppes.